let's see what else we have here. Let's go back to the landing page. Okay. Oh, that button takes you right to the free. Yeah, good. Well, see, notice gift cards is here. When I click on it, that takes us to the login page. But when I did that, also notice the URL address bar. That's changed a bit. There's a new parameter there. That wasn't there before. So that's something to make note of. We also have the About feature, credits, contact us. All of this is potentially useful, and we haven't logged in yet. Let's see here. Also, we have the Forgot Password feature. Here we have resetting password. This is part of the authentication security control. This is definitely a feature that is worth looking into for potential vulnerabilities, because this is a security control. And attackers would love to find vulnerabilities in a security control. And right off the top, I'm noticing there's a there's a password reset pin. I'm not familiar with password reset pins typically, so I'm curious. How do I get a pin? How are pins created? Are pins just random numbers, or are pins sequential numbers? These are things to ask about important security controls like a password reset pin, because if you can figure out how the password reset pins are created, maybe you can create your own. Something to look into at least. But now I think we've covered what is available to us prior to logging in. Oh, what happens when I click on the shopping cart? Shopping cart's empty. Can I still check out? Okay, it won't let me check out. Is that because it's probably because my shopping cart is empty? I wonder what if we okay, we can't add anything to our shopping. Oh wait, hold on. Let's add that to the cart. Okay, so see how if you add it to the cart and then try to continue the purchasing process, at some point you will get bounced to the login page. So this is added to the cart, and we can remove it here, but we can't go any further in the checkout process. It'll bounce us back to the login page. So, okay, so that's as much as we can find without logging in. And remember, all of these, we've seen a lot of input so far. And every place where we can have an input, that's where the attacks are going to come from. So you want to attempt to abuse each one of these inputs that we are looking at so far. Well, now let's see here. I am going to log into an account I found. Yeah, I found some test credentials. So you should definitely look for test credentials if you haven't found them yet. Okay, so now it takes me to since I put something in a cart, it'll take me to where I can continue the purchasing process. That's fantastic. But definitely take a look at all of the functionality and always watch what's happening in the URL address bar. For example, here's another number. Previously, I was talking about a password pin, reset pin. Now we have an account number up here. So the same questions apply to that. How are account numbers created? Are they sequentially generated? Are they randomly generated? If it's sequential and I add 1 to this number, can I see someone else's account information? That's what you want to be asking yourself. And then continue testing that value. Since it's an input and you can tamper with it, change it to a negative ID number. Change it to a 0. See how the application reacts. Change it to a single quote. And I use the example of single quote or semicolon when I'm talking about special characters as input, because both of those characters are important in the SQL language. So if I have a value an input that might be used to create a SQL statement, Well, if I put SQL special characters in there, maybe I can break a SQL statement. And if I can break a SQL statement, there's a good chance that that location is vulnerable to SQL injection. If you haven't looked at SQL injection before, lots of information if you Google it, because it is a very common vulnerability still, and it is a very dangerous vulnerability for an application to contain, because it can be used to just do awful things to the site and to the database. Once you're in as looking at the account profiles, notice that we have here drop-down boxes. And it's easy to think, and I remember as a developer, I had this assumption at one point that, well, I'm stuck with these values that are here. That is not true. Let me show you. I can do a right click here and then click on inspect to take me to the developer tools. And you will have to dig down into the code, that's being sent to the browser if you want to find all the vulnerabilities. But I'm going to just dig down here. Notice that the option values that are in that combo box, that drop-down box, are right here. And these are all editable. So I can right-click on that, edit as HTML, change this month to the letter AA, click off of it. And now when I come over here to this box, okay, I guess I have to click off of that. There we go. Now, hey, why is this not refreshing? I want my AA to show up in the combo box. What happens when I click on that? Okay. It is not behaving. This is what happens when you do live demonstrations like this. All right, let's try inspect it again. This is definitely editable. All right, option value, right click on it, edit as HTML. It's AA. Okay, it is there. That is saved. Come over here to the date of birth. Why is it still showing 01? Oh, some of you are probably saying, Kevin, you're missing it. Yeah, because I changed the wrong value. Edit as HTML. How about if I change the AA right here? There we go. Okay, now it's over here. See, all this is editable. These are all inputs. And when these values are being sent to the server side, is there any input validation occurring on the server side? Or is it trusting values from drop-down boxes like this? It definitely shouldn't. So I wonder now if we click on save. Well, nope, they wouldn't let me do it. Okay. See, that's why you have to test these things. And what happened if I was able to generate some kind of an error condition because it tried to use the AA for the day of the year, and that error condition triggered an error message that gave me a lot of information about maybe a third-party component that was being used to build Shred that handled some kind of a calendar feature. So don't just play with text boxes. You also want to play with every feature that you can change using the developer tools in your browser, because the changes you make affect you locally, but when you click on a button like save, this data is going to get passed up to the application server. So if there's no input validation on the server side, perhaps we can cause something interesting to happen. So there's a lot of information we can tamper with here. Now we're on credit cards. Whenever I see credit cards, I start thinking about permissions. So I'm logged in as a test user, and looks here, I have permission to add a credit card. I can edit a credit card. I can delete a credit card. So if I want to abuse this functionality, can I try to add a credit card to another user's account? Can I edit a credit card on another user's account? Can I delete a credit card on another user's account? So when you're looking to abuse functionality, look at what you have permission to do to your account, the one you're logged in as, and then try to find a way to do that, those permissions, or I should say actions, on another account. So I typically think of permissions as CURD, create, read, update, delete. Updates just like edit. And if I have permission to do those on my account, can I do them to another user's? I shouldn't be able to do that because if I can do it, it's a security vulnerability. Sometimes it's easy to look at an application like Shred and immediately think, oh, I want to become an administrator. Hey, which is great. That would definitely be a security vulnerability if you could become an administrator. However, abusing permissions is also doing things to other users that you should not be allowed to do. I mean, if I'm able to delete other users' credit cards, maybe that's annoying. But I can certainly use a credit card on my own account to purchase something. Can I use a credit card saved to another user's account to purchase something? That seems very points worthy if you ask me. So play around with that. Make sure you're thorough at looking at all of the features, and don't think you're limited to inputs based on what the screen is showing you. If you do a little dig a little deeper using a tool like Inspect, maybe you can change values. Now this one here, this is just the credit card number being masked. If I change it here, doesn't look, it's just a label. So then that's not that useful to me. It's not an input. Just focused on changing inputs. The inputs are where the attacks come from. All right, everyone. So hopefully I gave you some ideas to think about and maybe some functionality to play around with. So keep digging, keep looking for vulnerabilities, keep asking questions, and I will return in about another 45 minutes for another Learning Lab.